All right, buckle in because what I'm about to break down isn't just some random celebrity sighting you scroll past on Instagram and forget 2 minutes later. This is one of those moments where you hear the story and immediately your mind starts racing. Wait, why were they there? Who told her? Was this planned? We're talking Yo Gotti, the CMG boss and rap mogul, known for his smooth moves both in business and in matters of the heart. We're talking Angela Simmons, reality TV royalty, fashion entrepreneur, and the woman Gotti famously shot his shot at for years before the two finally made it official. And then we have GloRilla, one of hip-hop's hottest rising stars, a CMG signee, and someone who, depending on who you ask, might have a little more emotional investment in Gotti than she's ever publicly admitted. Now, put all three of these names together, toss them into the same Atlanta night, and add one perfectly timed slow-roll drive-by. And suddenly, you've got the makings of a story the streets won't stop buzzing about for weeks. Before we dive into the actual night in question, you've got to understand the backstory, because this wasn't just a two people happened to be in the same place situation. Yo Gotti has been in the rap game for decades, but over the past few years, he's shifted into mogul territory, signing major talent, expanding CMG, and staying relevant in an industry that chews people up and spits them out fast. Angela Simmons, meanwhile, has been a household name since her days on Run's House, and she's built her own empire through fashion, TV appearances, and business ventures. Gotti made it known, publicly and repeatedly, that he had a thing for Angela. It was a running joke and a running headline. He rapped about her. He mentioned her in interviews. And eventually, the persistence paid off. When they finally went public as a couple, fans saw it as a fairy tale moment. The rapper who spoke his crush into existence, the girl who gave him a chance after years of admiration. But recently, something shifted. The once frequent social media posts featuring the two of them have slowed down. Public appearances together have been rare. Angela's been spotted at high-profile events solo, and Gotti's been seen focusing heavily on label business and new signings. And speaking of signings, one of his biggest successes has been GloRilla, the Memphis breakout star who's been on fire since her debut. Glo isn't just another artist on the roster. She's a major face of CMG's new era. And her connection to Gotti. Well, it's professional, sure, but the chemistry between them has sparked online speculation more than once. Now, flash forward to a humid summer night in Atlanta. Downtown is alive but not chaotic, the kind of evening where the city feels electric, but still has hidden corners where the rich and famous can duck away from the chaos. One of those corners. A discreet, upscale rooftop lounge, dim lighting, panoramic skyline views, and just enough exclusivity to keep paparazzi at bay. It's the kind of place where conversations aren't interrupted by flashing cameras, but by the subtle clink of glasses and the occasional low hum of background music. Angela arrives first. Eyewitnesses say she was dressed in a sleek, fitted black jumpsuit that caught the light just enough to make her stand out without screaming for attention. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, not casual, but not red carpet flashy either. She moved with the kind of confidence that says I'm meeting someone important, and I know exactly what I'm doing. She headed straight upstairs, skipping the main bar area, which only made the sighting more interesting. A few minutes later, Yo Gotti appears. No big entourage, no loud entrance. Just a simple black hoodie, jeans, sneakers, and that familiar, I'm trying to keep a low profile walk that celebrities do when they're somewhere they don't necessarily want to be recognized. He heads straight to the rooftop. The staff clearly knows him because there's no fuss, no ID check, no wait time. And just like that, Gotti and Angela are sitting at a corner table with 2 drinks, leaning in close, voices low, their faces only lit by the faint glow of the city skyline behind them. Here's where the night takes its turn from ordinary to unforgettable. About 30 minutes into their conversation, a matte black SUV rolls slowly down the street in front of the lounge. The windows are tinted so dark they almost blend into the paint, but the vehicle itself is impossible to miss. It's moving just slow enough to make you think the driver's looking for someone or something. And in that driver's seat, GloRilla. Now, whether she was just passing by or whether someone tipped her off to the meetup is still up for debate. But witnesses say that as the SUV approached, the music inside was loud, bass-heavy, rattling the street, and then suddenly, it dropped to silence. Glo, reportedly wearing oversized shades despite the hour, tilted her head just enough to catch a glimpse through the floor-to-ceiling lounge windows. And in that split second, she sees them, Gotti and Angela in what looks suspiciously like an intimate moment. The SUV doesn't speed up. In fact, it slows even more, as if Glo wanted to make absolutely sure she wasn't imagining what she was seeing. One bystander swears they saw her lips purse slightly, like someone taking in a piece of news they're not sure how to feel about. And then, and without warning, she pulls ahead, disappears around the corner, only to circle the block and come back again, this time slowing almost to a crawl. This second pass is what's got people talking, because according to folks who were there, Glo didn't just glance in the second time, she stared. The kind of stare that isn't just curiosity, but calculated observation. Angela noticed her this time. You could see it in the way her posture shifted ever so slightly, like she was subtly angling herself away from the glass. Gotti? He didn't turn around, at least not visibly, but his body language changed, less relaxed, more focused on the conversation at hand, like he was trying to keep Angela's attention locked on him and not on the slow-rolling SUV outside. This wasn't a shouting match. No horns blaring. No confrontations in the street. But the tension was undeniable. Sometimes the loudest statements are made in silence, and this felt like one of those moments. Roughly an hour after that second pass, Angela stood up first. She didn't linger, didn't hang around for any extra conversation. She walked straight to her car, keys in hand, eyes forward. No smile, no wave, no glance back at the lounge. Gotti remained seated for another 5 minutes, then finally exited. He kept his phone in his hand the entire time, scrolling or typing, but never once looking up at anyone around him. However, what's being alleged is so wild, so reckless, that even people who usually roll their eyes at celebrity gossip are sitting up and paying attention. Witnesses are saying that GloRilla didn't just throw shade, didn't just argue in public, didn't just exchange harsh words with Angela. They're claiming she actually tried to run Angela over with her car. Yes, you heard that correctly. A chart-topping rapper allegedly turned a night out into an almost deadly incident involving a luxury SUV and a reality TV star who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or, depending on who you believe, the right place for some long-simmering tension to boil over. To understand just how wild this story is, you have to look at who these two women are, what they represent in the culture, and why their paths crossing in this kind of way feels like something out of a scripted reality show. Except all signs point to this being very real. GloRilla, born Gloria Hallelujah Woods, has spent the last 2 years cementing herself as one of the new voices of Southern hip-hop. With a raw, unapologetic style, she's gone from viral TikTok clips to Grammy nominations, and she's not just riding the wave, she's steering it. Her image is bold, brash, and rooted in authenticity. She's Memphis to the core, and her fanbase loves her precisely because she doesn't seem interested in polishing off her rough edges for mainstream appeal. Angela Simmons, by contrast, comes from a completely different lane of fame. She grew up in the public eye as part of the iconic Simmons family, starring alongside her siblings and her father on Run's House, then transitioning into reality shows like Growing Up Hip-Hop. She's built fashion lines, fitness brands, and carved out her own space in entertainment, leaning heavily on a reputation for class, poise, and a squeaky clean public image. Though, like anyone who's spent years in front of the cameras, she's had her fair share of relationship headlines and personal tragedies. So when the internet caught wind that these two were in the same orbit, people assumed it might be for something positive. Maybe a charity event, maybe some kind of crossover appearance. Nobody expected the headline to read like a police blotter. Rapper allegedly attempts vehicular assault on reality TV star. Here's where it starts to get messy. According to multiple sources, the tension between Glo and Angela didn't come from a business deal gone wrong or a random misunderstanding. It allegedly came from a man. And not just any man, but one who seems to move in both of their worlds. A fashion-connected industry player we'll call Jay for now. Jay has been linked to Angela for months, with some saying they were quietly dating or at least spending a lot of time together. But recently, Jay's name started popping up alongside GloRilla's in gossip blogs and blind items. There were whispers of the two being spotted together at private industry mixers, laughing and looking a little too comfortable. For Angela, who has dealt with very public relationships in the past, this would have been more than just annoying. It would have felt like a disrespectful intrusion into her personal life. And for Glo, who prides herself on living life her way and not bowing to public opinion, it may have felt like Angela was overstepping by even having a problem with it. When emotions are already running high, all it takes is the smallest spark for the whole thing to explode. That explosion happened. Allegedly, on a humid summer night in Atlanta, outside a well-known upscale lounge that's no stranger to celebrity appearances. Angela reportedly arrived first, accompanied by a small group of friends for what was supposed to be an easygoing night out. She kept to herself, mingling with her circle, smiling for a few fan photos, nothing unusual. But about an hour later, GloRilla rolled up, and from the moment her SUV pulled to the curb, the energy outside the venue shifted. One eyewitness told a local blog, "You could just tell. People knew there was tension. Glo's people were looking over toward the door like they were expecting something, and Angela's friends were whispering." The two women stayed apart at first, Glo hanging outside near her car, Angela inside with her crew. But as the night went on, a few members of Angela's group stepped out for air and words started flying. According to another witness, the exchange was quick but sharp. A few cutting remarks from Glo about Angela checking her over a man, Angela firing back about knowing your place, and suddenly, voices were raised and the whole crowd was watching. Angela eventually turned and began walking toward her car parked across the street, clearly trying to leave before things got even uglier. What happened next is the part everyone is still talking about. Multiple sources claim that as Angela reached the edge of the sidewalk, GloRilla got into her own matte black SUV, started the engine, and revved it loudly, not once, but twice. At first, some thought it was just posturing, a way of showing she wasn't backing down. But then, according to one witness, the SUV lurched forward, closing the gap between Glo and Angela in seconds. Angela reportedly had to take 2 quick steps back to avoid the front bumper, her friends yelling at her to move as Glo's vehicle swerved slightly to the side before speeding down the block. It wasn't enough to make contact, but in the eyes of some witnesses, it was close enough to count as a deliberate threat. "She was heated," said one onlooker. "If Angela hadn't moved, that truck would have hit her. No question." By the time most of Atlanta was asleep, the story was already spreading online. Fans woke up to see Angela post a black screen with white text reading, "God protects his children." Always. No names, no hashtags, but people knew exactly what she meant. Meanwhile, Glo posted a boomerang of herself laughing with friends, overlaid with the words, "You'll believe anything these birds say." The timing wasn't lost on anyone. Within hours, TikTok was flooded with commentary videos, Instagram blogs were running side-by-sides of the posts, and Twitter had at least 3 trending hashtags related to the incident. Half the comments treated it like a joke. Imagine almost getting run over in Balenciagas. While others pointed out that if this had happened to anyone else, police might already be involved. From a legal standpoint, this is where things could get dangerous for Glo. In most states, even attempting to hit someone with your car can be considered assault with a deadly weapon. You don't actually have to injure them. The intent and the act of using the vehicle in a threatening way can be enough for charges. Angela, given her public profile, would have little trouble gathering witnesses, and there's a chance that security cameras from nearby businesses caught the moment. But here's the tricky part. Celebrity disputes often don't play out in court the same way they do for the rest of us. Sometimes, what looks like a surefire criminal case turns into a closed-door settlement with NDAs, or it just quietly disappears from headlines when both parties decide it's better for their image to move on. Right now, there's no confirmation that Angela has filed any police report, but sources say she's considering her options, which in celebrity speak usually means lawyers are at least in the conversation. Inside the industry, the response has been mixed. Some people in Glo's corner are dismissing the whole thing as exaggerated drama, claiming that she never came close to hitting Angela and that the blogs are just blowing it up for clicks. Others, however, are taking Angela's side, pointing out that she's not the type to make up stories, and that this kind of public aggression could backfire badly for Glo's career. An anonymous producer told one outlet, "This is exactly the problem when street energy doesn't get filtered for the industry. Glo is authentic, which is why people love her, but there's a difference between authenticity and recklessness. One wrong move can cost you millions." And that's the bigger issue here. Regardless of who's telling the truth, both women's brands are now tied to a messy, potentially violent altercation. For Glo, who's been working to position herself not just as a rapper, but as a star with crossover potential, this could be a serious misstep. Endorsement deals, festival bookings, even certain collaborations could vanish if she's perceived as a liability. For Angela, who's cultivated an image of grace and professionalism, being caught in the middle of this kind of headline risks, making her seem like just another player in the celebrity gossip cycle. something she's largely avoided until now. As of this recording, neither GloRilla nor Angela has given a full, direct statement about the incident. Angela continues to post motivational and faith-based content, while Glo keeps promoting her music and upcoming shows as though nothing happened. And as for GloRilla, no one saw her after that second pass. She didn't come inside. She didn't post anything cryptic on social media, at least not immediately. But sources close to her have hinted that she was not thrilled about what she saw, even if she didn't plan to address it publicly. Within hours, whispers of the encounter hit the blogs. Small gossip pages on Instagram started posting anonymous tips about a sighting involving a rapper, a reality star, and a rising female MC. Memes began circulating. GloRilla's face superimposed over scenes from spy movies, jokes about drive-by shade, and plenty of captions speculating about love triangles and unspoken rivalries. Fans split into factions. Some said this was nothing more than a business meeting between Gotti and Angela, two people who have known each other for years. Others swore it was the sign of a romantic reconnection, possibly reigniting an old flame. And then there were those who insisted this was a subtle power play, a reminder from Angela that she still has access and influence, regardless of who else might be in Gotti's orbit. When you zoom out, this isn't just about one night in Atlanta. It's about the complex, often blurred lines between business and personal relationships in the entertainment industry. GloRilla may be a signed artist, but she's also a brand, a rising star whose association with Gotti is part of her public image. Angela, on the other hand, represents a different kind of connection, one rooted in years of public admiration, now tangled up in the shifting dynamics of their relationship status. If you're Yo Gotti, you've got to be careful here. Public perception is everything, and even the appearance of tension between two women connected to you, in different ways, can create narratives you don't control. For Angela, this could either be a quiet win or an unnecessary complication. And for GloRilla, this might be the start of a slow burn story that plays out over months, with subtle moves and public appearances dropping clues along the way. So, was this all just a coincidence? Maybe. Was it a setup? Possibly. Was it a moment that says more in what wasn't said than what was? Absolutely. The truth is, only 3 people know exactly what went down that night, and so far, none of them are talking. But one thing's for sure, the streets are watching, the blogs are buzzing, and somewhere, someone's already planning their next move. And trust me, we'll be watching for it.